The MI6 boss has today warned that a new form of conscription might be needed in the future, but is forcing young offenders into the army a good way to up the numbers? Well, members of a panel led by the Prison Reform Trust have called for those convicted of severe crimes, including knife crime, to do national service. As they say, some young people are, quote, no longer scared of prison. Is this a good idea, Grace?
I mean, it would work on me. If someone said to me, you're going to go in the army, I'd rather go to prison, I think. That just is my worst nightmare. Private Benjamin, I'd be giving Goldie Hawn. So I think, yeah, maybe it would work because it would, like, scare people into not wanting to do it again, or it'd give them a routine so that they wouldn't go back. Because I think some people go to prison because they'd rather be there than on the outside.
But doesn't that speak to half of what the problem is?
Yeah.
That nobody particularly fears prison anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, Kelly, you've been in the military.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, I could see why... This was a panel made up of members of the public, largely. And this was their sort of resolution for, obviously, what is overcrowded prisons. But, you know, should the army be used as a sort of a training ground for kids that are going off the rails?
There's some value in going in the army, of course, because of discipline, then respect, structure. A lot of young people go in now because of a sense of community, you know, you're feeling supported. But on the other side of that, the army shouldn't be a rehabilitation centre for those that have offended. We should be looking at the prison service getting sorted out and the education sorted out. Because once we get those services sorted out, you won't have as much issues with the young people, I think, personally. But, you know, the thing is with the military is... There's some units that are great. So there's the Army Foundation College, which definitely has its issues, but for 16 to 18-year-olds, you get your free education, get paid to be there, roof over your head, structure, discipline, as I said.
Skills.
Skill sets, you get taught a career, a job, apprenticeship. So it's got some really great values there, but most people go because they want to. If you're forced to go, you're going to have a backlash. So no one should be forced to do anything. I think it should be an option for maybe prisoners or young people that do the minor offences to go, right, you've got a choice. You're either going to do time or you're going to sort yourself out. But those that are knife crimes, murders, I mean, why on earth do you want them out on the streets anyway? Why?
But also, I think if a member of my family had been murdered by somebody, I wouldn't want them being, as I would see it,
given a choice,
rewarded with training and being given a life skill. I would want to see them punished in prison.
Yeah, you might want to see them punished, but being realistic, do you want to see the cycle of offending repeat itself over and over again? And at the moment, far too many people come out of prison and reoffend almost immediately. I agree with what Kelly said about the army and indeed all the armed forces, but what I would say that if you are trying to encourage more young women and female offenders to join the army, I would be slightly more worried because the Army Apprentices College near Harrogate in particular has had real issues with young women accusing senior officers of harassment, bullying and sexual discrimination. And there have been some terrible cases. One ended in suicide, and there have been a high rate of suicide amongst young women in the army. And in 2021, MPs investigated how women were treated in the armed forces, and they came across the astonishing statistic that 2/3 of the women they talked to claimed they were victims of bullying, harassment or discrimination. So you've got to make the army and all the armed forces a more easy place for young women to be and to want to join. But as far as this scheme goes, I mean, I think it's got potential.
Yeah. I mean, I do. It's just that I think if you've done a very serious crime, you should do some level of punishment. But I think the national service element for maybe kids who have been caught carrying a knife, haven't actually committed a particular, you know, violent crime.
But Grace brought up a very good point, which is that the reason why young people go to prison is it's got more structure than the life they've got at home.
Yeah.
And if the army or the navy or the armed forces offer that structure, that can only be a good thing. It's how you sell it to young people that's the key.
Kelly?
Yeah. I mean, the other side of that, the military has got a lot of issues with misogyny, and they need to sort that out institutionally. And that's the perpetrators, that's the bad eggs in the military. But you've also got the problem where young kids are joining, and they're joining from a very different world than it was when they were doing national services before, right? They are not the same kids. So the military are having problems having the right soldier. Remember, you're a soldier first before you get your trade. So actually, to put young kids straight into the army and say, you deal with it, is not what we need for our national service and protection. What we need to do is make sure that young people get back the respect, the discipline and everything into their lives that is missing. And I believe the education system needs to be pulled apart and redone.
Yeah.
I believe the prison sentence needs to be something that you do not want to go into, so a detriment to your behaviour. And until we sort them out, we're never going to sort out what we call our young people's problems.
Yeah.